All right. Fuck yeah. Sweet. Thank you
So
so
ready.
much. Thank you for joining us, Palmer. This is an amazing honor and a pleasure to have you here. My name is Frank. I run a show called Weed Live. It's a cannabis-based podcast, but it's a variety show, and we talk about all sorts of stuff, mainly cannabis, conspiracy, and comedy. And conspiracy I use as just a blanket term for trying to figure out what's going on this planet and truth-seeking. And then...
What the true truth is.
Sorry, what?
What the true truth is.
Yes, yeah. Hey, and all perspectives are welcome. So I love to just have open discussion and stuff. And one of my favorite topics is comedy. And Tim and Eric are some of my favorite comedians and stuff. So everyone at part of that cast, I feel like, has had to have some type of understanding of real, true comedy and the art and stuff. So I wanted to talk about that stuff and everything, your history and your you know, who you are and stuff.
Okay.
Cool, man.
That sounds good.
Awesome.
So, where would you like to start?
Well, so I guess just introduce yourself and tell us about your story, how you got started in acting, all that.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I'm Palmer Scott, as most people know, the Sit On You guy. I started acting, performing really when I was 10 years old in elementary school. Didn't get on a real stage until junior high, or as they call it now, middle school. I don't know what was wrong with junior high, but had to be changed. So now we have in high school. And after high school, I joined a local group. I was doing theater exclusively. I did a play that was held at a union hall, and an agent had come to see it and asked to represent me. So I started here in Salt Lake, and eventually I lucked into what they call Taft-Hartley and qualified to join SAG. At the time, my husband and I were living in a house in one of the better neighborhoods, but the house was kind of run down. We got it for a very good price, but it had doubled in value, so we sold it and used that money to move to California.
Oh, nice.
Where I joined the Screen Actors Guild and then started doing theater there, got representation, and first job I booked there was a co-star on Frasier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I thought you looked familiar, but I from
it was,
years ago.
Of all characters, I played a zookeeper type from Salt Lake City, Utah, who sang in a choir in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of a choir that's in Salt Lake City?
I actually I'm not familiar.
You've never heard of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir?
Nope.
Anyway, no, I'm not a Mormon. I say that quite often. People make a certain assumption if you're from Utah, especially if your family goes back, like mine does, to the pioneer days of 47, as they call them. 1847, when Brigham Young brought his horde of wives and others to the glorious Salt Lake Valley.
So that's where you're from, and that's where you live now, right?
Yeah, and believe me, if I could, I'd be moving back to LA in a heartbeat. But Well, things with climate change being the way it is getting so dry in LA during the summers that the fires just they've gotten so incredible. They're so widespread. Uh, it's basically LA is a desert. It really shouldn't have a bunch of people there. It's not meant to have that much of a population. But even worse is Las Vegas. Salt Lake City itself is a desert. It's Utah is the second driest state. At least that's my understanding. I could be wrong on that. But it's a very large valley that's a plain, and it's just got one tiny little thing called the Jordan River going through it, because we got to get that religion in there. So we have that. And it's a very green place, lots of trees, more trees than what you would think. But we suck up too much water here as well. Uh, I speak to people who, I had a friend who was thinking of becoming a vegetarian, which is something that I would do it. Well, his big thing was it's better if we stopped eating meat, we could have more land for people.
Mm.
But it's like, well, great. We take that land for people, and how are we going to clothe them? Well, we need to plant more cotton or something. How are we going to feed them? Well, we're going to have to take more of that land for arable farming, which will require more water, and we need water for them to drink as well. One thing I learned in high school is a population will continue to grow until it reaches an unsustainable peak. And then when the food supply crashes, that population crashes. Man's been able to avoid that because of our intellect. We've been able to see the problem coming and take care of it. But now we have a mindset of an anti-science mindset that has gone to the point we don't need to worry about the climate because Jesus, honestly, a lot of people are believing that Jesus is going to end the world any day, so it doesn't matter what we do. It's okay, Jesus will fix it. It's like you're not supposed to try to outguess God. You know, you're supposed to have faith, but not just sort of stick your finger up your ass and diddle yourself while things are happening. You're supposed to. The Christians abrogate a lot of virtue to themselves, saying, "Oh yes, God only helps those who help themselves." Well, that was said by Aesop 500 years before Christianity was even a glint in some Semite's eye in Israel. Aesop, the writer of Aesop's Fables, a man's wagon fell into the ditch, and he prayed for Hercules to help him. And Hercules appeared and said, "Well, will you pull the ditch out?" He says, "I help. Put your shoulder to it, and then I'll help you. You got to cooperate. You got to meet me halfway." And it's incredible, Christian. Oh no, that's Jesus. No. It's older than that. Virgin birth is older than that. I can go on and on.
No, you're the man. This is exactly what I'm into. This is actually a discussion we were having yesterday, too. It's just that I believe that Christianity, it's a powerful thing, and if it can give someone faith, it's so important. But in a sense, it's actually just a control mechanism, and organized religion in general has been just a control mechanism. So I'm stoked you went into that. Yeah, I'm down to listen. Your wisdom is amazing.
It is the virgin birth that occurred in Egyptian mythology. Isis gave birth to Horus after the death of her husband Osiris. Virgin birth. So many things. And we have people making jumps in things like archaeology and say, well, this proves that. This one little thing here proves this whole thing. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to look at the whole picture. Have you ever heard of the city of Troy?
Yeah, sure.
Trojan horse and all that.
Right.
Well, the man who found Troy was Heinrich Schliemann, although he wasn't the one who actually found it, but he dug it up. Well, he had a preconceived notion of what Troy should be like. before Schliemann, people didn't realize that these mounds called tells were actually the sites of ancient cities all over in the Middle East. And what happened is somebody would build a city and it would slowly build up from the garbage. People would just build on top of what they'd had before until there was a hill. So Schliemann came along and he said, oh, this guy had the land, and they looked at it and it matched the description in Homer's Iliad. Now, when a Christian says, well, I can prove the Bible's true because of this is the hill of this and this and this and this, and it all comes in, well, then Zeus and Hera and all those must be true too, because in the Iliad, it says this, this, and this, and that's where you'll find Troy, and we found Troy. So, just because there's kernels of truth doesn't mean the whole mythos is true. It's, I wish that people would pay attention to the actual history of things and logic it out. As a matter of I'm going to have to be careful here. Socrates in Athens was called the ugliest man in the city. And the beautiful boy Alcibiades threw himself at it. Well, there's one portrait of that is said to be Socrates, and he is remarkably ugly. And somebody looked and said, oh, he's Negroid. He's from Africa. Well, look at these lips. This is not from Africa. This is just, my genetics go back to the Welsh, English, Irish, Scandinavians, and French and stuff. And these just happen sometimes. Thick, luscious, full, bouncy lips. I don't know how else to describe them. But because somebody wanted that to be true, it had to be true. So now somebody built up on that, and they've got this whole thing of how every famous person throughout history is been misidentified as Caucasian. And it's like, no, that's not the case. But what the Caucasians have done is taken everybody else who was not white and made them white. Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, is not white. Jesus, should he have proved to existed, was definitely Semitic. He had dark skin. He was Jewish. What can you say? Also, I have some Jewish blood, supposedly, from my father's side. But anyway, that's where I get so angry. And then you provide evidence, and people refuse to believe it. But I will say, sometimes in little off stories that you think, oh, that can't possibly be true, you find evidence, and it turns out maybe it is true. That's like Troy, Schliemann and Troy. Well, this archaeologist, I can't remember her name, heard something, and she thought, I'll bet that Cleopatra wasn't buried at the palace, which is underneath the water of the Bay of Alexandria, but instead she was buried in this temple area. And she said she got permission, and she dug there, and she believes she has found the shaft that goes down to Cleopatra's tomb. I haven't heard anything. All of a sudden, the Egyptian government put a clamp down on news of that sort. So I don't know what the latest on the archaeology of that is, but yeah, it's good to listen to rumors, but then you investigate to see if they're true. Our number 45 in the White House embracing this doctor who got her degree in Ghana, maybe a legitimate degree, but she is also a preacher, and her religion informs her medicine instead of her medicine informing her religion. Therefore, my belief is this, therefore the medicine will conform itself to meet my belief. She doesn't look at it and say, hey, this works like that. Now, why would God make it do that? Okay, that I can, you want to be religious and practice medicine, fine. But don't let your religion tell you what the medicine is. You've got to look at it logically. Alien DNA is being used to cure people. First of all, DNA is unique to the life on Earth. It's formed here. Another creature, their founding molecule might be, excuse me, as on the Big Bang Theory said, silicon-based, not carbon-based. Ours is a carbon-based DNA. A silicon-based would be far more likely on another planet, or God only knows what, a hydrogen-based DNA. You don't know. But they're, to all of a sudden say, well, every alien is capable of fucking with people. No. That's one thing I made a mistake when I was in 7th grade of bringing home a book called Chariot of the Gods.
Yes. Yep.
My mother picked it up and she read it, and I have since checked on the various sources, and wow, was that thing full of bunk. It said the Nazca plains are giant alien landing pads. Well, when you look at the actual measurements, one of the landing pads was about 2 foot wide. What kind of spaceship could fit that? It would be itty bitty little aliens, believe me. I don't think they would land among the giants. One step, and there goes half the intelligentsia of some alien race. Then people who, I got into a big thing on YouTube when I started pointing out inaccuracies about these people claiming that the step terraces in the Andes were proof that aliens were among us. And you look at the step terraces, and there's these giant things. And I said, those are for planting crops. No, that may be what they're using them for now, but they used to be stairs. Well, the way they're constructed is there's a wall of stone and dirt, loosely packed dirt, farmable dirt. Now, if you've got big aliens, they must have been pretty damn big, and they must have weighed very damn little, because you put your foot down on a comparable structure for us, we're going to slide right through it. It's not meant to sustain weight. And then all of a sudden it ends in a 300-foot peak of granite. And it's like, well, where is this a staircase to? Where were they going?
Right.
Was their ship up there? And why would they put their ship up there in the mountains where there's all these plains out in the Amazon forest? Far more hospitable for a landing craft. No, aliens, no, we're going to land up here on the mountains. We're going to precariously perch our ship on the top of this mountain, and then we're going to take a giant leap to this one step. And I point out the stairs right beside, saying, see, the people use those. Well, of course, the people were their servants, and they had to have some way to get up there. But, people are going to believe what they want to believe. You can't stop them. And that's the problem. People have gotten to the point, my belief is as good as your science. I don't have to prove my belief, but you have to prove your science. It's like, well, okay, proves it. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't, because my belief says it doesn't. Okay. You cannot argue with someone who is intent upon being wrong. I tried that for so long on Facebook and various media, and even with some Tim and Eric people. And it's like, how the hell did you come to this sort of conclusion? What, conspiracies. You were mentioning conspiracies. Let's talk about the moon landing conspiracy. Yeah. I saw a thing, a guy did the mathematics. In order for the moon landing hoax to have been perpetrated, it would have taken over 400,000 people keeping their mouths shut for 50 years in order for that hoax to have worked. 400,000, and not one of them has a big mouth? Come on. Or the QAnon conspiracy with Hillary Rodham Clinton molesting children in the non-existent basement of a pizza parlor and then eating the babies afterwards.
Yeah.
What is, and amazingly, every person who's part of it is a Democrat.
Yeah, right.
Every one of them is a Democrat. But you show them pictures of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, You know, you one picture of Bill Clinton is worth 20 of of face of a Cheeto head. Palling around with them. They show him doing, he admits he walked in on teenage girls as they were changing. No, not important. No, no, no. You can't argue with someone who is going to, well, he gave himself over to God when he started running for office. Wow. Hasn't been to church since, except maybe a couple of times. The church that he went over to, across from the White House with the Bible and everything. Well, what the hell? He's never, the pastor said, he's never been here. He's not part of our congregation. Right across the street, even supposedly the denomination that he is. But I used to call him Cheeto Mussolini. But then I decided I found one that I like better. Adolf Hitler.
Oh no.
And but if the reason I called him Cheeto Mussolini is because Benito Mussolini, look at his facial structure. It's got the same jaw that comes out, flat face, same jaw, and the same way of walking around, head up, looking down his nose at everyone. Yeah, it's the same thing. I have a cat who wants to get up here. A little more. By the way, this is not Coke.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But I can ramble on various things. Just if you point me in a direction, I'll go there.
Yeah, no, that's great, man.
I'm in my 60s. I've got ideas about everything.
Cool, and it's wisdom. That's the thing. Our generation, my generation at least, I'm 27, has broken away from the great wisdom of our elders, and I feel like it's a really important connection to understand what's going on now with politics and with the world and all that stuff. And then the thing is, like what you're describing, and exactly my purpose in the conspiracy realm is to come at it with an open mind and to understand all of this stuff for what it really is. And there's people who have been understanding and seeing this stuff since the 60s and the 70s. That book is Eric von something, The Chariot of the Gods.
Chariot of the Gods,
yeah. And it's a very popular one in the UFO community and all that stuff. And he, so it's hilarious. I think that whole thing is crazy.
Or if you look at the Mayan tomb of this the Jaguar King, well, he's an astronaut in their spaceship. See, if you look at it like this and this and this, and it's like archaeologists say, well, if you look at the rest of their culture, those are plumes from the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl. Oh no, that's the fire exhaust of a rocket ship. Okay.
Right.
You cannot argue with the purposefully blind. It's it's aggravating. It's enervating. It's drained me. I have been fighting since my teens for like gay rights, the democracy, for people understanding, and it's like I have worn my hair away, pounding it against the wall when I hear some of these ideas coming out of people's mouths. Flat Earth.
Right.
Flat Earth. Oh my God. And their big thing is, well, it's the government is hushing them up because of the money. What fucking money? There are all these ships that circle around the edge to keep everyone away so they can't learn what it is.
Bam.
Then why don't we have penguins at the North Pole? If there's this whole massive circle of ice, why aren't there polar bears at the South Pole? I mean, Coca-Cola's put them together. Why the hell hasn't nature put them together? But in order to have enough ships, it wouldn't take billions of dollars. It would take trillions of dollars to keep the kind of fleet needed. And it would make no sense. Why not just say, okay, there's the edge of the world. Well, then the scientists will, you know what? Most scientists would be saying, you know what? I'm fucked. I didn't realize how fucked I was. Copernicus was wrong. I'll never forget. I got into a discussion back in AOL days, back in the Stone Age, with a guy who was an atheist. Now, I call myself an agnostic with atheist tendencies. The reason I'm an agnostic is I don't know that I don't know everything. An atheist says, I know there is no God. How do you know? Well, this guy was saying, well, I know that there's no God. Well, isn't that just like somebody of faith saying that they know there is? No, because I have such and such and such. And I agreed with the guy and said, you're probably right. I don't believe in a God sitting up on a white cloud going, you're damned and you're damned and you're damned. Why would there be a God who would know how flawed his creatures were, who would know how much pain he was causing, who would create a world to do that for his own glorification? He's going to damn people to hell to roast in fires for all eternity for his own glory? That's not a God, that's a psychopath. I want to ask people like that, okay, the next time your child does something wrong, I want you to take them to the stove and put their hand in the flame. Let's see if they can do that. But their all-loving God is willing to take somebody like me because I'm gay. And this is, believe me, there was never a time when I went and looked at a woman and said, yeah, nah, I think I'll go this other way. Now, I like, that's really attractive, but I like this better because it pisses off my parents. But, oh God, I keep going off on tangents. I'll go all over the place.
No, that's exactly what this is all about. It's just open discussion, and that's like kind of part of the show. I was really hoping that my co-host would be here because he's gay. He's 51 years old, and I feel like your perspective and his perspective would have been amazing to have together, like to talk and stuff, because he's African American and he's seeing the world in a different view. He's never been on the West Coast. We grew up like on the East Coast. I'm from New York originally. He's from Atlanta, so and from like North Carolina and stuff. So he just saw an awful side of that as well, and like it's a big part of who he is and stuff. So I feel like your success story and stuff with and the comedy and stuff, just from seeing all your posts all the time on Facebook and stuff, I figured you guys would get along.
Maybe I can come back someday when
awesome.
He's there.
Yeah, cool, man. Very cool.
But
yeah, it's a big part of my life though to stand up for the people who are being bullied and all that stuff, because white privilege is real or whatever. I get it, and I grew up just seeing all the people that were like affected by all this stuff, and myself also. I wasn't like a cool guy, so it's a big part of my life to to understand the struggle for people and kind of like to explain it, because it is like how that thing developed into what it is now is really important, the LGBT community and stuff.
Well, I grew up in the 60s and early 70s in Salt Lake City, and pretty well everyone had decided I was gay by 5th grade. I didn't know, but they decided that they knew for me. And I was short. I was heavy. Back then, I was heavy. Today, I would have been considered normal weight. I mean, we've gotten so big as people. I was considered fat. That's like, I look at myself and it's like, not compared to today's kids.
Wow.
And that's part of it. Part of the culture that we have created. The boomers, well, our parents started it. The boomers continued it. Gen X is the one now they're the ones who are in charge. Boomers, we're being phased out. We're going. Just like our parents, the greatest generation went, we're going. Well, actually, after the greatest generation, there was what's called the silent generation. Those are the ones born 1935 to 1945. Then the boom is 46 to, I guess, 66. So when I was growing up, I was told, 60 was the end of the boomers. Then it became 63. Now it's 66. Whatever. Uh, but I've seen the change from the nice. I grew up in a suburb of Salt Lake, not really a suburb, an unincorporated county area called Kearns. And Kearns was not considered the good part of town. Still isn't considered the good part of town. But when I was growing up, I remember one kid who from my second grade, who was, I believe, African American. And I just remember him for a few months and then he was gone. I guess he got chased out by his family, got chased out by racists. Then finally, when I hit high school, a school with 1,500 children, kids, teenagers, there were maybe 3 Hispanic kids that I can think of, and 1 Asian. Out of 1,500 kids, you really cannot get more Wonder Bread than that. And the mindset, I see so many of them now, and they've just continued with this right-wing march, pulling the country even further and further to the right. Whereas now, I'm considered a radical leftist, whereas in Europe, I would be considered left of center, because I still believe that an individual should work for their living. I mean, we shouldn't just sit back and say, oh, yeah, you pay for me. Wonderful writer, I believe it was Anne McCaffrey, who created a thing where people would get a subsistence living. But if they wanted anything better, they had to do something to get it. And I kind of believe that. Okay, we'll give you the minimum to live on. You'll have clothing, but if you want an education, you go to school, get the education, you can get something better. But you have to do something to earn the better treatment. That's kind of how I would like to see the world run. It gives incentive for quality. But I don't want to see people living in rags. Oh, one thing that just gets to me. When Reagan came into office, I'm going to go back. In the 70s is when the decline of the liberal ideals that this country had started as a reaction against the hippie movement. And believe me, back then I had a stick up my ass. It took me about 10 years to get it out. But with Falwell, when the Eisenhower back in the 50s said to not let religious people into the political movement because the moment you do, they would try to take over. He said, I've seen these people. I know what they're like. Don't let them in. Well, what did Reagan do to get elected? Welcome in. I will treat you so good. I will give you everything you want. Boom. Well, one of the things they wanted was an end to the fairness doctrine. The fairness doctrine was a rule for the FCC that said that you had to give equal time to people. If they had something to say, you had to give some equal time to somebody else, and you had to have credible sources for your reporting. Once that was gone, we started getting Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and that sort of thing. And once the money was seen, Rupert Murdoch, who had started in Australia and then went and bought a bunch of the yellow journalism, the poor quality papers in England, and started radicalizing them into a frothy mouth right wing organ to spew out his things. When people say, "Oh, the elites who are the news people and all that," it's like the news people are not. They're not Democrats. They're not liberals. No matter what you think or say, they are not. They are all Republicans because that's where the money is. Yeah, they let people like Bill Maher have his show because it makes money for them. If he didn't make money, they'd just kick him to the curb too. So then we started getting Limbaugh on that. Then In 94, we got Fox News. And that's when it really became a problem. We got Newt Gingrich into office, and that's when the bipartisanship went out the window. If a Democrat wanted it, you said no, no matter what it was, whether it would help your people or not, whether it would help you or not, you said no. Then you took the idea, stole it for yourself, and presented it and said, look what I've done for you. That way, they got the credit. The Democrats were seen as doing nothing. So what the hell? People say the first 2 years of Obama's presidency, he could have done so much. No, he couldn't, because they had the filibuster rule. And anytime that the Democrats tried to put something through, it got filibustered, which meant that one senator, one man out of 100, could hold up legislation. And it used to be that with the filibuster, you had to get down on the House floor or the Senate floor, and you had to talk the entire time. That's how we got green eggs and ham read into the congressional record. Sam I am. Green eggs and ham, Sam I am. Bit. Anyway, that's how that happened. And now all I have to do is say, no, I filibuster this. We're not moving on this until you give me what I want. Well, they did that for the first 2 years of Obama's administration. Democrats do nothing. Finally got the Affordable Care Act through, and it wasn't very good. Why? Because anytime that it was something that could be good, the Republicans filibustered it. Because you cannot give a Democrat a victory. The right has gone so far right, I'm considered radical. And that does not help anyone. You know, we need a balance. We need to go back. The pendulum has to swing back more to the left. What I'm thinking of now is the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic is the government of Germany that was put in place after World War. It was very liberal. There were gay rights. There were people out on the streets who you wouldn't see, in other times. Things were liberal. Intellectuals were able to pursue anything, any idea, and they were able to go after it. Well, unfortunately, there was a great deal of inflation under the Weimar Republic. They were not being allowed to handle their economy correctly by the powers of the Entente, Britain, France, Germany, and Britain, France, and the United States were not allowing them to repair themselves and get their country going again. That's where our side fucked up. The French and the British wanted revenge, not a rapprochement, not an understanding. They wanted revenge. So they got the revenge. Well, what happened after that? The Weimar Republic came in. It was very liberal, but things are going bad. So who came after that? Hitler. He came in and said, look at all this decadence. Look at this. These people are the problem. You'd have a job. You'd have money if these people were gone. If you listen to me, I can fix it. I know what I'm doing. Okay. Does that sound familiar? Anyway, he tried to push the overthrow of the government, didn't succeed, went into jail, wrote Mein Kampf. The next time he tried it, he was successful. He ran for office. He finally got in. And that's history. Well, Adolf Hitler is in the White House. He's checked all 4 boxes on the checklist for a dictator wannabe. And now it is up to us, the American people, to say no. Even when you start getting the Republicans upset, people who are licking his, whose lips are orange from attaching to his hind end and sucking in the rich nourishment of Cheeto dust. When they're finally waking up, Okay, I was talking about people who would help destroy this country. Well, Newt Gingrich started it, but the person who I think is the biggest traitor in this country this day is Mitch McConnell. He has the power to stop that man. He could pull him out, and well, he could have. He might have waited too long. It might be the ship might have sailed. But McConnell, if a Democrat comes in, he should be investigated and put on trial for collusion for crimes against humanity. The mercenaries, these on the streets of Portland and Chicago, those men are equivalent to Hitler's brown shirts. They should be identified, they should be brought to trial, and if they committed crimes like slapping a veteran and breaking his hand, or pepper spray an old woman, or knocking an old man and having him fall flat on the ground and bleeding from his skull, they should be tried, and if found guilty, they should be punished. It is not what this country is supposed to be. I put a thing up on Facebook about this woman being drugged to a van, and oh my God, the people who defended it, I cannot believe they defended it. Well, she shouldn't have been out there. You know what? I'll never forget one time while I was here in LA, I'm here in Salt Lake, before we moved to LA, I was speaking to one of my neighbors, a gay man, and I said something about somebody who'd been arrested in one of our parks for cruising and stuff. He said, well, they shouldn't have been out there doing that if they knew that it was possible for them to be arrested. Well, the thing is that person was forced into that lifestyle, because when you criminalize people, and that when even I'll go back to the 70s, I met a young man. We got along, it clicked. I was a horny 20-year-old. He was a horny 20-ish-year-old. We went off and did our thing. And he said, he was worried about being found out that he would be sent to a sanitarium, that he would be put in a nut house and medicated by his father. He was so scared that I had to go through all these steps to make sure that everything was private for him and he couldn't be seen. He was that scared. When you create that culture and then people fall into the legalistic traps you've set, what do you expect? You created a culture that would make their lives impossible. Then when they try to live their lives, you criminalize them. It is what it is. But anyway,
I'm confused to what cruising is. I guess you said cruising.
Cruising is basically, I'm going to quote a play that I did called The Haunted Host. Fellow's up in his apartment overlooking Christopher Street, and he's talking to a ghost, and he's looking at these two guys, and he says, lumber, 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 mince, 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 lumber, 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 mince, 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 lumber, lumber, mince, mince, lumber, mince, 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 lumber, mince, lumber, mince, lumber. It's basically cruising down the street.
Okay.
You see somebody you like. If you're in a place where you know other gay people are, you look at them, they look at you, you look at them. You maybe touch certain areas of your body, and that's the signal, and then you just sort of hook up.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's pre-grinder.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know. I actually am not really familiar. Rage would probably maybe know more stuff about that, but he's actually not an internet guy either. So, but that's really interesting. Yeah, I'd never heard of that. So people got arrested for that.
Oh, you have lived a sheltered life, Booby.
Yeah.
Well, since I'm at least 10 years older than your co-host, I probably have things that he's not aware of.
Mm.
But then he was in South Carolina.
Yeah,
which,
right.
while it was, I think it's more repressive here, it's more dangerous
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Here, you get found out, you get sent to a sanitarium. There, you get found out, you get dead.
Wow. Yeah. Totally. For sure. Yeah. Crazy.
As my husband said, especially if you're black.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's his situation. I mean, so. Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
So cool. That's a lot of stuff. Politics is really interesting to me, and all of what you're talking about is really interesting. So, anything, keep going where you were.
Oh, okay. Well, well, you mentioned that the other thing of this was comedy. Well, I have a
Yes.
rather acidic tongue, in case you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Uh, I I go for the cheap joke all the time. I would go to an audition, and they say, "Okay, this is very serious," and I'll never forget one. A very effeminate man whose dog had disappeared, and he was all upset and talking about these firemen coming to help him and everything. And he said, "But the one fireman, he was such a terror, and he had such a cute ass." The casting director was like, "That's funny as hell, but I can't use that. Please do it again without that," sort of thing. And it was like, okay, I just can't help it. The thing I love, one of my favorite things about auditioning in LA, that's a Black Russian, in case you were wondering. That needs more ice. Uh, I would go to an audition and they would do something like, okay, you've got a candy bar in your hand and it explodes and it does this weird shit and reforms. Keep it real. A candy bar explodes in my hand. I'm running away with shit falling out of me as I go. Because, a candy bar just exploded in my hand. I'm going to run. So I'm going to be like, oh, wow, look at that. Interesting. Okay. Or you're walking your dog, your little teacup poodle, and a giant vacuum cleaner is in the sky and it sucks your dog up. But keep it real. You let go of the dog and you go, ah, and run off. That's real. Or another time, I'm in an audition. You are a pair of dice. Now, I want you to roll around and come up with snake eyes. So I roll it on the floor and I come up and snake eyes. It's like, what the hell? You pull things out of your ass trying to make these people happy, and it's like, what the? One, I auditioned for this, and the director kept directing, keep it real, keep it real. So okay, hey lady, is that the talking dog? Hey lady, is that the talking dog? I finally saw the commercial done, and it's, hey lady, is that the talking dog? That's not real. But that's what he wanted, but he couldn't articulate himself and say, no, stiff and cartoonish, but being very flat. If he had said that, I'd know what he wanted. I could have given it to him right away, but he kept saying, keep it real. Well, maybe that the talking dog. I mean, to me, that's real. That's, just somebody who, hey, yeah, that's a talking dog. Okay, cool. And where's real, and hey, is that the talking dog? That, if there's a dog, it can talk. Wow! Wow, a talking, there's only one dog in the whole world that can talk. I'd be, going up in smoke, because of the excitement. That's just, when I auditioned for Tim and Eric, I wrote about this I wrote a short little book. It's, I need to rewrite it, but I can't.
I was actually going to buy it. Yeah, I just saw it when I Googled you today. That's awesome.
It's very short and it needs to be rewritten a bit.
Oh, okay.
But I got a call from my manager. I didn't have an agent. I had a manager. And she said, you're going to audition at this place. It's an after job. After was a separate union from SAG at that point. Well, neither of them are unions. They're guilds, which means they can screw you over. But anyway, I said, well, this is voice work for a cartoon. No, it's live action. And I was, okay. and they want comedic actors, which I am, doing a dramatic monologue. Well, I do drama. I love doing drama, and I played a character who was sort of an anti-hero type. He was the main villain of the story, but it's Antigone, but it's by Jean Anouilh. It was written in the 40s as a statement on fascism. And
Wow.
so I took this one monologue, which I barely remember now, and he's talking to Antigone, Creole, and talking to her. You want to be a martyr like your father. You want to feel your blood drip, drip, dripping, so that you can show the world how pure you are. That sort of thing. They wanted a comedic actor, so I did that. I did this really, and I really toned it down so it was more. The difference between acting on stage and the acting on television is television. You're right here; you can see everything, so you have to keep it very subtle. But on stage, you're maybe 5 or 6 feet away. So in order to convey something, you have to be a little broader. So I had to bring that down, make it more intimate. Next thing I know, I get this message saying that they have a little ditty they want me to do. And I had seen Tom Goes to the Mayor. I did not realize it was the same guys and that this was a new show of theirs. So I went in dressed all in black and I this is what I do. I sit on you, sit on you. Said, no, 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 Tim, that's not what I want. No, no, no. That's sexy. I don't want sexy. I was going, okay, what do you want? I want more. I can't remember what he said, but I went back and I thought I grabbed a shirt that Whitney had, the sit on you shirt, and my jeans. And I go in and I do that for him, and that's it. And then a few days later, we filmed it. What I liked about working with Tim and Eric is that they would listen to me. A lot of the times you get on a set, it's like, do what I tell you to. You're exactly this, this, and this. Don't put any, I auditioned for a movie and it was, they wanted me to be this character. I was broad, I was enjoying it, get on set, and it became, no. It's like, okay, I can do that. And it became very stiff and very minimalist. But with Tim and Eric, they actually said, like the guy rubbing against, when I rubbed against the telephone worker, I have to say that was me.
Oh, wait, you
The
wrote
rest of
that?
the,
Wow. Or you
no,
you came up with that concept?
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's great, dude.
but
That's
we were
fantastic.
taking ideas and bouncing them back and forth. What one part that got cut is there was this little 14-year-old girl laying on her stomach on a couch in sort of a pervert, one of that wood paneled
Yeah.
basement type
Oh
that
my
says
god.
I have, and it's like I almost fell on the poor thing because in order to do the sit, I have to balance myself very carefully,
Oh my
because I don't
god.
want. I'm a heavy guy, and I wasn't quite as heavy back then. I put on about 30 pounds since then. Yes, I'm morbidly obese. But anyway, I was saying, oh God, please don't make me do this, that, or the other, or I'm going to fall on her and break her spine.
Oh my god.
Yeah. When I was younger and thin, and there was a time I was thin. People that went to a high school reunion, they didn't believe me when I said I was thin at one point. But I used to ice skate, and I'll never forget one time I'm on the rink, and in order to do a jump, you're fit skating backwards. Well, there was another skater who was getting ready. She was this tiny little 14-year-old, again, and we both are looking for the same patch to do our jump on, and we both hit each other, bam, on ice. I go and I'm spinning a little bit. That poor thing is knocked to the other end of the rink on her belly, going like this. And I just thought, oh God, I'm going to break this girl's back. I'm going to fall and I'm going to hurt her worse than that poor little thing on the ice. And so that was the birth of Sit on You.
Wow.
And they didn't use me again. Well, they had me doing some things, coming in and just being there. And then BubBubs.
Mm-hmm.
And BubBubs, I felt, was I didn't do the best that I could have done. the Channel 5 dance party. That one, they made me work my ass off for that. But oh, did you know that Eric Wareheim's first music video was the Polite Dance Song by the Bird and the Bee? Have
Okay.
you seen that yet?
No, I guess not.
Look that up. I am the
Okay.
star.
Oh, awesome. Sweet.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, like I said, I used to be an ice skater, and I also took ballet and stuff. And I used to when I would go out in the '70s, the way I would flirt on the was on the dance floor.
Oh,
I
sweet.
I could do the splits. I could do double jumps, all sorts of stuff. And believe me, I showed off what I could do when I was trying to get laid.
Badass.
I was a whore. I was young, fairly muscular, and kind of cute. God knows what's happened back then. So yeah, you believe me, I played it for all it was worth, especially after high school. Acne had cleared up. I put some muscle on my frame. It was good times. Let's see. We covered a little bit of basically, if I could make a living as a Shakespearean actor, I would. I love wordplay.
Oh, sweet.
But you hand me something. I did a play once called Salt Lake City Skyline, which is about a union labor organizer back in the 1910s named Joe Hill, who was found guilty of robbery and railroaded and executed here in Utah. They cremated his body, and I don't want to be caught dead in Utah was what he told his friends. And for a while, I don't know if it's still going on, anniversary of his death, envelope of his ashes will be mailed someplace where there's union work being done. Anyway, 15 minutes before the show, I would go out and I would set the stage. I would bring out all the props. And I don't know where I was coming up with things. Not a word did I say, but I was getting laughs and people were coming in just putting a Bible down a certain way. You give me a prop and tell me I can do whatever I want, you're in trouble. I will do all sorts of things. I love nonverbal communication. I had an audition for Cirque du Soleil, and they said, okay, and I did the whole thing without saying a word. I would just, you're directing these people, and I would look at a girl and I'd go, make her stand up and turn around and all quiet. Or one guy I'd just look at him and go, just little things. And I had you can do that on camera and it can be read. On stage it can't, it's too small. So Cirque du Soleil didn't use me, bastards. 5 years they kept me auditioning. Anyway, I'm going to get in so much trouble with certain people. But that's some of my acting thing. Oh no, my favorite thing is I had an audition. It was for Yahoo Yellow Pages, back when Yellow Pages were a thing. I don't know if your audience knows what they were, but it was Google before there was a Google. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, they wanted a bunch of business people acting like cattle. So everybody shows up in a suit, and they pull 3 of us, and they said, okay, you're the ones we're using, but we need 2 people to be the stars. And that meant a great increase in pay. So, okay, you're now cattle, and I want you to moo and everything. So everybody's mooing, and I'd wait until nobody was making a sound, and I'd go, ah! Ah! And they'd say, the director would say something, he said, well, hey, there's one in every crowd. Ah! I got one of the lead parts. You have to know when to be a smartass in an audition to get the part. If you know it's going to be a comedy, if it's drama, don't be a smartass. And with the level of acting I was at, the scene was never about me.
When I did Frasier, I actually had at one point a bigger laugh than Kelsey Grammer. You do not get a bigger laugh than Kelsey Grammer. That's a no-no.
Oh
So
shit.
that got cut. You bet your ass that got cut.
Oh, can you tell that story?
Pardon?
Can you tell that like scenario or the joke or something?
Oh,
or-
well, what it was is, okay, my scene, I said I was a zookeeper.
Yeah.
An ornithologist. Bird, I was in charge of the birds at this supposedly exclusive zoo. And we had a crane that we were naming Frasier the Crane. And anyway, at one point, Martin, Frasier's dad, is alone in this tent where there's this fancy spread out, and he and the crane get into a fight over chicken wings or something, and the crane gets out and he goes running across the stage, and I'm there just looking at Frasier give a speech, and I do the whole double take thing, and ran after the bird, and that was a huge laugh that, believe me, did not make it into the final cut.
Gotcha.
Frasier's reaction to the bird escaping, that got in. But my reaction, that was cut.
Interesting.
So yes, I like physical comedy. And that. But if I can do wordplay, I did a play once, this wonderful actress and I had a scene, and she had said something, it was a murder mystery, and she said something about her father who had been killed, basically accusing me of killing her father. And I said, I really rip her a new one. I said, oh dear, now I see that you're upset. Just being able to turn the line is just dig it in a little bit it's, oh dear, now I've upset you. That was it. So I like doing wordplay. But put me on a stage and let me go to town. Last play I did was called Valhalla Unscripted, and I played the Norse god Odin. Luckily for me, they put me in a wheelchair and gave me a script in a book. So, yeah, because memorization these days is not my friend. I used to be able to do, I memorized a 3-page monologue in, 3-4 days? Yeah, 3 or 4 days, which is pretty good, along with 20 other characters, because it was one of these things when we were all playing multiple characters. And those, it's like, okay, what is it? Is it you're going to prison or you're going to jail? Oh, yeah, I did Nip Tuck. I was playing an Englishman, and this line, the word was prison, and I kept saying jail. And the director wanted prison, and I kept blowing it. And then all the time I went on that, you see, Nigel was an Englishman, and I do a very good received pronunciation in British. That.
Wow.
Now, poor little Nigel, I would always do that. The moment I would come in, I was in character. Because if you're going to do a dialect, you do it the entire time. So anyway, I blew it, and one time I blew it, and I just looked at, it's prison, it's prison, it's prison, bloody hell, it's prison. And people were laughing because then after that thing, I did that, I came out, and the star of the show, Dylan Walsh, looked at me, and I said, hello, Mr. Walsh, da-da-da-da. What happened to your accent? I looked at him and said, I'm very good. I was playing a German chef with no lines. They wanted somebody with an accent. Character had no lines for a commercial. I did that, and I'm doing the whole time. Once again, I'm doing the German accent. I'm being very careful. I've been told it sounds more Austrian than German, but I don't care. It's still very viable. And anyway, I'm there for a costume fitting, and I do that, and I see the director, and he says something, and I answer him back, yeah, they're fitting me out now. What happened to your accent? Just, pay attention to what you're doing and keep doing it. Like I said, you got to know when to be a smartass.
That's awesome. You have a really, really good accent there. I bet an arsenal of them.
Yeah, I've built up. Well, then of course there's my Tipperary Irish, which is the very light, sort of almost sing-songy type of Irish. Then you put in a bit of the Liverpool in that, and you get sort of the Dubliner. And this is more of like a Dublin Irish accent. If you listen to them on Irish People Taste in American Goods or whatever, Irish People Fries. It's a YouTube channel I watch every once in a while to see them. Oh, watching them get drunk is so funny. But yeah, when I was on the Amanda Show, I was doing a very funny French waiter on that. So, yeah, give me an accent and script, and I'll.
You said the Amanda Show?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, no way. Oh my God, that's my childhood
Yes.
too. Wow. Oh, that's so awesome.
You know how she always had the ending bit of the show where she'd come out and talk to the audience and something would happen.
Yeah.
I was one of those. It was the final season, and I had auditioned, and I'm serious, I had auditioned for that place 30 times, and they hadn't used me.
Whoa.
So finally, I come in to do this audition. They hire me, and it says a French waiter. And I come out, and I've got this great big thing, and I'm in a tux. Your dîner is served. Crowns de parfum. And I get over to dinner, and we have this whole great big thing, and the chef comes out, and he's upset, and I'm upset, and then the chef says something, and we will be ruined. We're crying on each other. Then a guy says he's the owner. It's you can find it online somewhere.
Cool.
But
I was just thinking that. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that was. I did not a PSA, but sort of an announcement for, I think, FX. Just me, it was New Year's resolution, and I'm just laying on this couch in a sweater saying, I resolved to make a really good sandwich. Next thing I know, my niece in Missouri, who I haven't spoken to in years, is telling me, that's my uncle! That's my uncle! It's like, yeah.
Awesome, though.
Yeah. How do you like my cat protector?
Oh, it's great, dude. I was going to say, very nice.
What?
Wise, very intense.
Yeah, well, she licks my face when I'm asleep. So this is to protect, from having my skin ripped off.
Wow. I love cats, too. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your pictures of cats.
Oh. Yeah. You haven't seen my Bart Baker video then, have you?
No, I have not, though.
You've heard of Nicki Minaj's song Starships?
Sure.
Okay. This was a parody done before her show thing was released called Pussies.
No way.
Pussies, they drive me wild. Lick one and you will smile. But look up Bart Baker Pussies. And they did an interview of me afterwards. And it's like, I'm so glad my mom died before she could see me do this. I mean, it's really mustache hair. It is really, I'm in Daisy Dukes and a pink bra. And when you see it, it's going to look like there were like 3 million cats there. There were only 3, and the black cat, it was mine. My sweet little Skissy. He was such a calm, good cat. The other 2 guys were fucking heavy. They were 15, 20 pounds, which is pretty heavy for a cat.
Yeah, big boy.
And, but after we did that, Mark looked at me and said, I'm never working with cats again. So, yeah. That's what, if you haven't seen it, you should see that.
Awesome, definitely.
Yeah. I have a bit of trouble here in Salt Lake because there's still a dominant culture where if I talk like I do you got used to in LA, I'd never get work here again. I have to self-censor all the goddamn shit, hell, motherfucker. doesn't fly. I have to, cheese and crackers that
Yeah.
are, you have to go with the flow here.
Full on Christian, yeah. Or Mormon, right? Or
There's Christians and there's Mormons, and though Mormons say they're Christians say, no, you're not.
yeah.
And well, the Mormons and the evangelicals have worked together politically, but
Right, that's kind of what I meant, I guess.
the moment they can, the evangelicals will come after the Mormons just as fast as they will Jews or gays or anyone else. The
Gotcha.
evangelicals are the ones who are driving this country to the edge. They are looking for Armageddon, and they will create it one way or another. And we have got to find a way to stop them.
Yeah, wow.
I really do fear there might be a civil war coming.
I feel the same way.
I told somebody on Facebook that if there's another stimulus check, Whitney and I are going to take ours and get a car, passports, and weapons with it. Because I'm not that well known, but I'm well known enough that somebody might decide to take this liberal asshole down. So, or they might just say, hey, let's go get those fags on the second floor. So I want to be able to get out of here if I have to.
Wow,
I never thought I'd have to say that about my own country.
Yeah,
I
it's
never
really
thought
sad.
this country would get to this point. But there are people who want to see. I really worry that George Bush in 2004, if he lost, I didn't think he would concede the White House. And people, oh no, you're full of shit. Never happened. Won't. Now it's like, yeah, it wasn't Bush who did it, but we see somebody who's setting up everything for exactly that. Post office can't be trusted. Can't be trusted because he's made it untrustable. It's all fake news unless it praises me. No, they're telling the truth. No, they're not. They're lying. They're everything. Dr. Fauci is a man for whom I have utmost respect, and the reason why is he was there studying AIDS, and back when it wasn't AIDS, it was GRIDS, gay-related immunodeficiency syndrome.
Wow.
And he was there studying it. He had to share credit with some French scientists. He's the first, I'll say, American to have successfully isolated the virus, and he's fought tooth and nail for funding to study it and to cure it. There are people, oh no, they don't want to cure it. Yes, maybe the pharmaceutical companies don't want to cure it because it is a cash cow for them, but the doctors do. The doctors actually want people to be better. If they don't want people to be better, they go into things like cosmetic surgery. But if they really care about people's health, they will fight to find cures, not treatments, cures for various ailments. And to see a man like that who's doing his damnedest to keep this country safe, and to see these idiots, oh, he created Corona-19. What the fuck? If he did, there would be a paper trail a mile long. I mean, seriously, there would all 45 would have to do, I cannot call him by his name, have to do is say, okay, release the records, because it would be right there. There would be proof of where the funds had gone and how. There would be cultures in the labs that he worked at. It would be so easy to prove because, he wasn't off in Wuhan. He was here in the United States. His labs are not in Wuhan, they're here. His paperwork is here. Hillary's server is in Ukraine. Fuck. Yes, there are governmental conspiracies, but it's almost always been in service to a right-wing cause. Not to protect a liberal. I don't think the government's ever gone out of its way to protect liberals, except maybe under President Obama. But I know that it's gone out of its way to protect right wingers. My parents both worked for the federal government at a place called Tooele Army Depot, and they would come home with stories that would just, your jaw would drop with the waste that was created by politicians so that they could keep their position in government. We had a fellow, Jake Garn. My father hated that man. He was senator, and I'm going to say my father said that when he was an electrical contractor, Jake Garn was one of the people who would he would contract for building stuff, and he would have to check his truck after Jake Garn had paid a visit. This is a man we flew up into space, and he couldn't be trusted around people trying to make a living around their property. There's a place called the Dugway Proving Grounds here in Utah. That's just south of the Tooele Army Depot. One day, a guy goes to tend his sheep, and they're all dead. Well, we've got people saying it was space aliens, it was this, it was that. What probably happened, the most logical thing is that there was a gas leak of a neurotoxin at the base. The government came in, grabbed all the sheep that died, did something to the soil, basically cleaned up the soil and all that. Very hush-hush. They've never admitted to anything. But more than likely, there was a neurotoxin leak. I mean, you look for the simplest explanation, and it's probably the right one. Occam's razor, or Sherlock Holmes. When you eliminated all that's possible, whatever's left, however improbable, blah, blah, blah. But more than likely, that's what happened. There is a thing in Utah called the downwinders. Well, back when they were testing open-air nuclear weapons in Las Vegas, the wind would, in Nevada, not Las Vegas, but in Nevada, the winds would carry it across central Utah, and there was a huge proportion of cancers, early deaths, birth deformities through the entire region. I think 30% greater than the general population. And they had to establish a fund to pay people for that. Whitney's parents both died of cancers that more than likely were caused by that, but because they didn't qualify by 6 months, the family was never compensated for it. But almost always, if there's a conspiracy, it's in service to a small group of elite people, generally military or politicians. Those are the ones who have the power to cover their asses. Those are the ones who do. Now, I can go on for a few more hours, so you have to say when it's time.
That is actually exactly what I like. I really like to go deep into all this stuff, and you have a lot of wisdom on the subject, and then you're passionate about it. So I'm actually down to gain as much of the wisdom that you want to share. We could do it in the second part another time, like you said too. But basically, I mean, from there, my question and where I guess I want to just give you a little concept of my theory and stuff on the conspiracy, and where I just open the door to it and stuff, or the intro, I guess. And it's just that I think that there's a mechanism being used to control humanity as a whole, and they're playing us off against each other in this two-party system.
That's basic psychology. Yes.
Yeah, right. Right. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that basically, sadly, somehow the right wing has undermined what could be the actual truth-seeking, aspect of the conspiracy community and stuff, and it's just all been thrown into this Alex Jones screaming fear porn. Yeah.
I'm sorry, when somebody's frothing at the mouth that much, that continually, you gotta wonder what medication they need. I'm a sarcastic little bitch, aren't I?
So, the reason I love Tim and Eric is because I feel like they are like the truther community evolved into Hollywood because they were laughing at how everything became so corporate and consumerist and stuff, and they just started making a mockery of all of it. And that's why I feel like all these wise people were down to be on their cast, you know, and to be part of that thing. You know, I don't know how you feel about that or anything, but
Well, in my lifetime, I've seen crass commercialism taking over everything. When I was a kid, we had Christmas and it was a little trashy and it was, ooh, goody, goody, but then it became sort of a gift race, like an arms race, only with gifts. I'll never forget one time when my mother was really upset because her niece, who we lived fairly close by, was actually able to spend more on Christmas than she was. That upset her no end. And it's like, for God's sake, Ma, I don't need loads of presents. I just need you. You know, I just, and we have these kids who are so repulsively spoiled. I'll give an example about a Mercedes on a girl's birthday in California one of these days, not right now. But there's an unrealistic need to top each other. One of the Tim and Eric people, who I really love, he's a really nice guy in that, whenever we're together and I would tell a story, he would have to top it. Didn't matter the situation, I would be talking about dialects or accents, and he would have to come in with his thing and everything. It's like, dude, you're actually pretty fucking bad at it. But, he always had to top. And finally, one day I snapped at him, and he's been a little bit better about it since then. But that's the way it is. We have an arms race of gifts. And of course, the people who want to make money are going to take advantage of that. They're going to exploit it. Of course they are. What else are they? The whole idea commercialism is get what you can get when you can get it. And I understand it. I see it. I participated because the choice is either that or starve. But I would really, if I could, like I said, if I could make a living as a Shakespearean actor, I would do that. But if I've got to do, this is what I do. I sit on you to make a living, I'll do it. Besides, it was kind of fun. I like to do things, when you watch Push These, you'll understand. I like to do things that make me uncomfortable. Because when I confront them, then I understand a bit more about myself.
Awesome, dude.
And that's what art is.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Cool. Real art. That's what I feel like Tim and Eric was too, is a branch out into the real art spectrum again.
Yeah. I mean, Poop Tube is a little, I'm very anally retentive is the only way I can describe it, even though it plays into the poop thing. My mother, like I said, I had a stick up my ass. I never said the word shit out loud until I was 19 because of the way I was raised.
Whoa. Heavy.
My mother and father, I did it to please my mother and because I was scared of my father. What can I say? Okay, well, the alcohol just about worn me down, so.
Palmer, you're amazing. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for this. This was really fun.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Thank you, man. For real.
Okay.
It was a pleasure. Cool, man. Right. Hey, I'd love to talk again sometime. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, man.
Call me soon. I'd love to talk again.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good one, man. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Sweet. All right, everybody. That was Palmer. That was amazing. That was an amazing conversation. I'm really stoked that he did the show. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to come back on later on tonight, and we're going to do another one. Yeah, I'll be back, and I'll play some video games. Palmer Scott, everybody. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Fuck yeah. Shout out to Palmer. Thank you.